Hello and welcome to today's news update for day 294 of the war in Ukraine. Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to The Account. Today the news were dominated by the Russian morning attack with Shahed drones on Ukraine, the situation in Bakhmut, and Russian crimes in the Kherson area. We will discuss those first before we switch to the usual look at the situation inside Ukraine, the occupied territories, and international developments. As usual, though, we will start with a look at the flashpoints along the front and the situation in Bakhmut. Bakhmut. Heavy battles continue, especially on the eastern outskirts. The situation remains foggy. There are too many different claims to give a proper assessment. Many sources report Russian units are putting huge pressure on the Ukrainian defenders, captured 2 blocks in the east and gradually pushing into the city while suffering heavy losses. Other sources claim Ukrainian defenders managed to stop the Russian advance and ambush several Wagner PMC units. Videos shared on social media confirm both claims. We will have to wait for further information over the next 24 hours. Reports from Horlivka suggest the Russian advance there is bogged down and Russia is shifting focus to Pitorodne. Crimea. A total Russian silence on what is happening could indicate the situation has deteriorated for them. The General Staff of Ukraine reported repelled attacks at Chervonopopivka, Serebryansk, and Horlivka, suggesting Russia is trying to relieve pressure on Crimea. Vodiane. Again, we have conflicting reports here. The Russian Ministry of Defense claims to have captured most of the settlement, while Ukraine claims Russian units got pushed back. We will have to wait on further information over the next 24 hours. Maryinka. Heavy street fighting is reported. Both sides claim successes. Russian sources are celebrating the cutting of the supply lines from Horlivka, while Ukraine claims Russia got pushed back considerably from the center. We have a short video of the street fighting in Maryinka. And now for the news, starting with the situation inside Ukraine. First, I want to point out this interesting article by the Ukrainska Pravda. It is already a week old, but only came to my attention today. It is titled, Secret Front of Kherson Oblast, How Resistance Draws Ukraine's Victory in Russian-Occupied South Closer. It details the life and work of the resistance and the daily danger they faced. Please check it out, it is highly interesting. Russia launched another drone attack on Ukraine this morning. Shortly after 6 a.m., 13 Iranian-made Shahed drones were sent to Kyiv and Kyiv Oblast. President Zelensky commended the Ukrainian Air Force and said all drones were shot down. Later, however, it was reported that 5 buildings in Kyiv and a private house in Kyiv Oblast were damaged by falling debris, but no one was injured. It is claimed the drones were launched from the eastern coast of the Sea of Azov, and one of the drone wreckages found showed a tail fin with the inscription fortifications. Authorities in liberated Kherson discovered torture rooms specifically adapted to detain and torture children. One 14-year-old boy was arrested for simply taking a picture of broken Russian equipment. He was locked up and tortured in one of these chambers. Children were given little water and almost no food, constantly being told that they had been abandoned and would never return home. During the day, Russian forces shelled Kherson, damaging the Kherson Oblast administration building and killing an 8-year-old boy. The square in front of the building was used by civilians to celebrate the liberation of the city. A short video shared on social media shows the building moments after the shelling. The Kherson Oblast military administration has begun urging civilians to evacuate from Kherson due to Russian forces targeting critical infrastructure. In particular, the heating in the Korabel district of the city had to be suspended after Russian attacks caused an accident. Meanwhile, Serhiy Khlan, a member of the Kherson Regional Council, stated that Russia is trying to create a grey zone on both banks of the Dnipro River. According to Dmitry Lubinets, the Verkhovna Rada Commissioner for Human Rights, 7 million Ukrainians, or 20% of the Ukrainian population, left the country due to the Russian invasion. Moving on to the occupied territories. And we begin with another interesting article I found, this time by the New York Times. It is titled, "Defenses Carved into the Earth." Russia, with an incredible pace, has begun to construct massive fortifications over the past month. These fortifications show how Russia's military is trying to set up more defensible positions against Ukrainian pressure, often with the help of natural obstacles like rivers. It is a very informative article, and I can only recommend reading it. The armed forces of Ukraine destroyed another ammunition depot of the Russian forces in the Zaporizhzia region, leaving up to 100 soldiers wounded. Due to a significant number of wounded invaders, the so-called decree of the occupying power designated Hospital No. 15 in Yuvilene settlement in Luhansk region and Hospital No. 3 in Luhansk city for the needs of the military. This was reported by the General Staff of Ukraine. The National Resistance Center reported that the armed forces of Ukraine killed over 100 Russian soldiers in Horlivka due to information provided by partisans. The operation became possible thanks to the coordination of the resistance and the armed forces. The military received data on the location of the occupiers' personnel and their equipment. As a result, Ukrainian forces conducted the operation using the coordinates. According to preliminary data, over 100 enemy personnel and equipment were destroyed. Satellite images shared on social media show Russian fortification in the occupied territories. The location is currently unknown. Russian occupation authorities have begun the demolition of entire neighborhoods in occupied Mariupol. A video shared on social media shows special equipment at work in the Livoberesny, Primorsky, and Centrali districts. These areas were heavily damaged by fighting during Russia's siege of the city. Russian aggression caused one of the biggest humanitarian disasters in Mariupol. Enemy shelling destroyed almost 90% of the city. The invaders and their accomplices do not repair the damaged housing, but demolish it to hide traces of their crimes. And finally, the international developments. The UK has started to train Ukrainian judges in preparation of war crime trials against Russian soldiers. So far, Russian forces have committed more than 50,000 crimes of aggression and war crimes since the start of the invasion, the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office reported. The head of the National Police, Ihor Klimenko, said that around 47,000 Russian war crimes have been recorded as of December 10th. The governor of Belgorod Oblast has published pictures of the newly constructed fortifications called Zasechnya Line on the border with Ukraine. On top of cancelling his yearly press conference, Russian President Vladimir Putin has also cancelled his other traditional New Year's Eve plans. He will not be playing ice hockey on the Red Square, and he will not address Russia's Federal Assembly. According to the National Resistance Center, Wagner has recruited 23,000 convicts to fight in Ukraine. These units will most likely be thrown into battle and used as cannon fodder during assaults. Since the deaths of these convicts have no impact on Russian society or the morale of the military, it allows for the unique opportunity to not care about losses. Alexander Bogomas, the governor of Bryansk Oblast, Russia, once again reported that the air defense of the city of Klintsy shot down Ukrainian missiles. However, locals reported hearing 6 explosions and the village of Ardon was left without power. And now the intelligence update by the UK Ministry of Defense. On December 6, 2022, Igor Girkin, a well-known Russian nationalist and former military intelligence officer, claimed he had spent 2 months embedded with the Donetsk People's Republic Battalion on the front line. He said his recent experiences had revealed a crisis of strategic planning in Russia's Ukraine operation. Since his deployment, Gherkin has also derided the Russian military's current emphasis upon constructing extensive positional defensive works, questioning their utility in modern warfare. His comments highlight the fraught debate about the conduct of the war, which continues within Russia's security community. Rumors circulating on social media within the last 48 hours suggesting that Russian Chief of the General Staff General Valery Gerasimov could have been fired cannot be verified. However, factional tensions likely extend to the top of Russia's military hierarchy. And to finish the report, the evening update by the General Staff of Ukraine. The enemy is focusing its efforts on the offensive in the Bakhmut and Avdiivka directions. He is trying to improve the tactical positions on the Kupiansk and Liman directions. Fire damage was confirmed on December 12th of the current year in the area where the invaders were concentrated near Verbovoy, Zaporizhzia region. Up to 10 units of weapons and military equipment of various types were destroyed. Losses among enemy servicemen are being specified. The enemy continues to use a network of civilian health facilities in the temporarily occupied territory to treat wounded soldiers of the occupation forces and mercenaries of private military campaigns. In the city of Luhansk, on the premises of the city's skin and venerological dispensary, wounded soldiers of the Wagner mercenaries are being treated. And that concludes today's news update. If you're interested in certain topics and want to read up on them, I included the links as usual in the description. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day. You were listening to The Account. Slava Ukraini.